It's time to crack another can as we talk to Bobby Gerould. We continue where we left off on the interview yesterday. We hope you enjoyed that one, and this is just such a special interview with such a special individual, and we will continue to talk about what's in store for him in 2023 and possibly beyond. Hello, I'm Ben Dethridge, and I'm the host of Getting Up to Speed. We talk to sprint car drivers from the Pacific Coast, whether they race in Oregon, Washington, California. If they run it, we're going to talk about it. Also branch out a little bit, as well as drivers that perhaps are from here that race elsewhere, or some drivers that come in and try and take some money from the West Coast. In these episodes, we talk about past experience, past seasons, as well as upcoming races, as well as how's the season going. We hope you enjoy these episodes. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps us out. And stay tuned for more and more content. Now let's get into the interview. Let's talk about your one website, racing related, Hammer Down USA. That is an incredible wealth of a resource for historical things. I've used it a lot, this off season. Putting in results for, just cross-checking and referencing for King Speedway as well as Thunderbolt Raceway in Tulare, making sure, okay, do I have this race? Because maybe there was like a non-sanctioned race that this series didn't go to. It's been an immense help.
Yeah, it's a labor of love, and I'll probably try to keep that up. It may not be as timely. It never really was timely, but yeah. It may not be as timely as I would have it, if I was announcing there, this coming weekend or whatever. But I'll try to keep up the Hanford and Tulare results page. Still need to do some more work to get up the 2000 history from Calistoga Speedway up there. But one of the things, probably the main thing that I keep up with on hammerdownusa.com these days is the Racers Racing Series schedule and the all Hammer Down team. For years, I've picked out 60 races that I would say are the 60 biggest races in sprint car racing, and award points at those races and those races only to the top 11 finishers. Mm-hmm. Total them up at the end of the year, and the top 40 and the point standings make the all Hammer Down team. Something I continue to do, and something I think is just kind of a cool snapshot of, you can look back at the 2012 all Hammer Down team and they give you a pretty good idea of who was doing what that year, see some of the results of, the biggest races of the year. And,
sure.
One of the things in making the schedule this year that I noticed is, this is sprint car racing. You said we may not have reached the peak. I think, monetarily, this is the best year I can ever remember for sprint car racing with, the high limit schedule coming in there and their different races. It's hard to narrow that list down to 60 races, and there's a ton of races that are over 20,000 to win, and then you've got the ridiculous, of course, big money mm-hmm. races with the Kings Royal and the Million and the Knoxville Nationals and all that kind of stuff. So, the Houston Tie Bank Nationals, 250,000 to win. I mean, there's just a ton of really, really big races right now. For these drivers and teams.
Yeah, and it's another period of time to be excited and blessed to be a sprint car fan. Not to say that last year, you didn't miss anything, or the year before that, or 20
right.
years before that. Yeah.
No. Yeah, it's just that, looking at it this year, it's like, wow. I mean, there really is. There's some good money to be made, and sure. And then you throw in the money that teams make with merchandise and all that kind of stuff. It's just, I think it's, if you're a good team, if you're a winning team, if you're a good driver, go out there and make all you can.
Sure. Strike while the iron's hot.
Absolutely. Yeah. But you always have to keep in mind, and I'm not saying this to be morbid or look at anybody in a funny way that does this, but we know the risks and the rewards. That's sure. why there are big rewards, because the risks are huge. And
yeah.
If you're going to take on this many races, sooner or later something's going to happen. You know what I mean? Sooner or later, there pretty much isn't any driver that I know of that wasn't at some point upside down, on fire, or in the hospital.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's going to happen at some point, and you just hope that when it does, it's nothing major.
Correct. Yes. it reminds us all that we're still mortal.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that draws fans to sprint car racing, like it or not. Nobody goes there. At least I certainly don't go there to see the flips and the stuff like that. But
sure,
when a guy is on the edge of disaster and it's amazing to watch. I mean, watching. I love. I'm concerned about Paris Auto Speedway and what's going to happen there with the future. And I hate it that we don't run at Calistoga, because those are two places where you just watch guys there in non-wing sprint cars and you're like, man, they are on the absolute edge here.
Sure.
You see some of the sprint car guys at Eldora, or the way they fling it around Port Royal sometimes, or at Tulare. It's just like, it's amazing what these guys will do, and the risks that they'll take to go a little bit faster, gain a 10.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, Tulare, I was showing my 13-year-old son, we were at Thunderbolt for Trophy Cup last October. And, he kind of grew up around it with his mom a little bit, but, so I took him there before we went to Disneyland, and I even, had the Bob double stroller that was everywhere that weekend.
Yeah, I saw you. Yeah.
And I'm showing him, I'm like, hey, Jake, look at this. See this black mark? This is tire. This is where the guys were running, like on the wall here. See this? See that mark? A car went up on there. Oh, did he flip? Did he brake? No, he kept going. So it's like it's insane. That place in particular is insane in a good way.
Yeah, the quarter pipe coming off of the fourth turn there.
Sure,
man, it's crazy.
Sure,
it was like a propeller.
Absolutely. And what I also got to say about your site too is the preservation of things in the past when stories would go up there, because there's like a certain time, it seemed like, where people got serious about posting stories and everything and archiving them. Unfortunately, for some, they I wouldn't say threw them out, they just disappeared. You can still track them down, but it's a lot harder. But like, I think with your site, it was like 2002 or something, Bakersfield had like an open show, or Chowchilla had like an open show in 2004 or 5. And, just trying, like calling Brian Crockett. Well, I think this guy ran. So I call that guy, like, how many cars were there? Like, does anybody know anything about this? And then I was able to do a cross-reference thing with your deal. And well, there's a story here. It's got what looks like a full, somewhat rundown that Ron Rada wrote, way back when. So yeah. So that's cool. I mean, I wish I was better about that, and I wish I had a staff or some people, but it's pretty much just me, and I spread myself pretty thin between basketball and my DJing stuff and the hammer down stuff here and there. When I get a chance, every once in a while, the spirit moves me, and I'm like, yeah, I need to spend some time working on this or that, because there is definitely a bunch of stuff still that needs to surface, as far as, like you said, some of the old results and some of that era where we were before cell phones became mini computers, and kind of after the newspaper, the daily, when Racing Wheels was going, it was a great place to look for historical records up to a certain point, and then it went away, and so then it's like, well, there's some stuff there that was in the primitive days of websites and stuff like that. And like you say, it's hard to find some of that stuff. So there's still, I think the next thing is, and you see some of it now, but it'll be the continuation of getting the stuff that people shot on VHS and Betamax and all that, and getting it digitized and getting it put up on websites. Because I know there's still a ton of that stuff floating around. It's just a matter of someone taking the time, like Ross Weiss does with old racing programs on Weiss's Pieces, to, get it digitized, get it put up there so that the world can check it out. Sure. Preserving it. And, that's what a great job that the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame does at Knoxville, preservation. And there's some individuals that are incredibly talented that have all this historical information. And it's to me, I'm just a stats nerd, but also a historian at heart. I had no plans to become a announcer at all ever when I was a teenager. I wanted to be a history professor at a university. And then,
Mm-hmm.
and look what I'm doing now. Basically, I'm a history professor of racing. So,
Right.
Full circle moment, right?
No, but it's great. And it's, I find that, with music, I deal with that quite a bit. And, you find out that even if you think you really, really know stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know it all. You know what I mean? And you can go back, especially with the older stuff, just the stuff that, happened in your primitive years or before you were born, especially.
Mm-hmm.
People tend to think that the world started and ended when they were born.
Sure.
Sure. You really got to go back to before that and appreciate. Okay, so this Kool and the Gang that people know from the mid '80s, the Celebration Kool and the, that's not the real Kool and the Gang. The real Kool and the Gang was in the mid '60s when they were like this instrumental band playing all this funky stuff with all these breaks and just way ahead of their time sonically. And that's what people will find out too if they dig back into racing and start learning about Jan Opperman or learning about how great Doug Wolfgang was as a driver.
Sure.
Stuff like that. It's there for you. You just got to dig into it.
No, I totally agree with you on that. Especially, music. I don't think I've ever told you this. Music's sort of a passion of mine as well. Like I don't know. Oh yeah, he's doing, that's the timing of the beat that he's got, or this is what chord it is. Nothing like that. But it's just, the history of it, what inspired the artist or the band to get together to pen this song. And a major inspiration for me, for my career, it wasn't an individual artist. And, a lot of people say, oh, well, that's a vanilla answer because it just is the Beatles. I mean, like came from nothing, obscurity, and really conquered the world and, really did so many different genres. And, they came and they went and, they never broke up or, and then came back together and then broke up again. Like it was just, hey, we had our time. We did what we did. So.
Yeah. Amazing group and kind of shows you what can happen when we collaborate. If I have an idea, I have one idea, but if I share that idea with you and you share an idea with me, and now we've got a little something to work with. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's the way a lot of good things get done. And unfortunately, I don't want to get off on, I don't know what the focus of your show is here. So I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent outside of racing, but it's a problem today with music and the computerized way everyone can do anything. You don't really need to collaborate.
Sure.
I can go in my room right now and get a drummer on drum band and pick out a bass part from a loop, and I can pick out a guitar riff. I can create whole songs in a matter of hours. From just right here in my house that you wouldn't know the difference that there wasn't a drummer in the studio. You know what I mean? It's just, it's unfortunate. It's cool, but it's also a little unfortunate because the true artistry gets lost in, having someone who really can play the drums do it a special way instead of just, this is drum track number 5 off of, whatever, and just picking it out. So
Yeah. No, we discuss pretty much anything and everything here, right? We don't really talk about politics, but so
no, that's good. That's probably a good thing.
Yeah. But I was on my flight back from Phoenix from the IMCA TV Winter Nationals, and a really good documentary was on Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson had all these anxiety problems and all these things. He was making great music, but he's like, I don't want to tour. I don't want to go on the road. I'm scared or something. And like, it was just, but still, still to this day, an amazing man, created some amazing things.
Absolutely. The Beach Boys vocal harmonies are timeless and legendary and classic. And some days, I'm sure there's some kids right now listening to this that are rolling their eyes. What are they talking about? Kool and the Gang and the Beach Boys and whatever. But as I said, and it's really hard to appreciate this when you're in your 30s or you're in your 20s. But if you're lucky enough, you will be in your 50s someday.
Sure.
And you'll understand what Bobby G was talking about.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You'll be like, okay, now I get it, because there'll be a whole generation of people with their own ideas and their thoughts and their opinions about who's the greatest and who's this and that, and they'll have a much smaller sample size to work with, but they'll nevertheless be that steadfast about their belief. You know what I mean? So it's just the way of the world, right? I mean, when I was a kid, I'm sure that in some ways I was disrespectful to someone who was older than me, who I just thought was washed up and out to lunch. You know what I mean? And now I'm that guy. You know?
Sure.
So
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of those things. You wouldn't have Justin Bieber if you didn't have Michael Jackson or Prince before.
Right.
You know, you
wouldn't have Prince without Sly Stone. And
sure.
yeah. It's the way of the world. Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt. You wouldn't have, this is a horrible comparison. You wouldn't have Taylor Swift without Nancy Sinatra or, something like that.
I'm not hip enough to Nancy Sinatra, but
oh man,
but
she did a James Bond theme song. You Only Live Twice.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
1966, and James Bond. Sean Connery was in it. It was when he was still James Bond, and he goes to Japan, and they make him a ninja or something. It's interesting. So
crazy.
But
all right.
Yeah.
I saw Swifty on the Grammys there the other night. I know that's your girl Ashley Llewellyn. She's always bugging me on my DJ show to play Taylor Swift.
Oh yes, there's a following I've found about that. So.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about your music show and your DJing. What for fans that don't see that side of you, what's all going on there?
So, a lot of people don't know this, but my dad, in his mini gigs, he was a radio DJ when he was actually at a very young age. Like I think he was 14 or 15. He had his own radio show in Michigan, and so he's always had vinyl records and been a part of it. Always loved music. And then my mom is a piano player and organ player who was a singer, and so she was always playing the piano. Growing up around the house, we always had music in the house, and so I just always gravitated to it. Started, became enthralled with the hip hop phase and rage in the late 70s and early 80s, and wanted to be a part of that. And so, I got my grandma had passed away, and she left me some money, and my parents said, what do you want to do with the money? And I was like, I want to buy 2 turntables and a microphone. And and get a little DJ setup going. So I did that. I used to make tapes in high school and DJ junior high dances and high school dances, and continued on through college. All the while I was doing racing stuff and stuff like that, I was DJing side gigs, and then went on to a little bit like my race announcing career, kind of just a journeyman club DJ. I'd get a gig here there. Nothing real spectacular, and I'm not going to wow anyone with my scratching skills or anything like that on the turntables. I'm not a turntablist, but I would say I'm a pretty good mixer and blender, beat matcher and stuff like that, and really dig into the history of the music, and I enjoy a lot of really soulful, funky R&B stuff, and just all my years of doing that stuff, you meet people in the industry and you're around people. Some of my really close friends are musicians. And so it's just something that's always been a part of me. And after the club DJ thing kind of washed up, because a little bit like I was talking about earlier about, living the demographic. Well, for a club DJ, your lifespan is even shorter. Probably about the time you're 35, you're probably not living the demographic anymore. The demographic is, 21 to 27, 28-ish people who are going to the nightclubs all the time. And they're not worrying about the same things that people in their 30s or 40s are worrying about, house payments and,
sure.
and just different real life things. And so you lose touch a little bit. And so that's why there aren't a slew of older club DJs. I mean, there are some, the really outstanding ones will always be there, and they're going to last forever. But there's a ton of them who get recycled. There's somebody new's coming in, they're better, they'll do it for cheaper. And so you get phased out. So I got phased out of being a club DJ and just found that I really, really, really missed it. I always had my DJ stuff set up at home. So I figured out a way, as technology advanced. It used to be, I think, called Ustream TV or something like that before Twitch, and just different ways to get it online and to do a show. And so that's what I've been doing lately. Most Saturday nights, I spin a show called The Soulful and Funky Show. It's on Twitch, and I do it from like 8 to midnight. I have a group of regular followers that come in and support, and some friends that I collaborate with to kind of curate these playlists, and it's just a lot of fun. It's something I really enjoy doing, and I do it mostly just for the love of getting that feel of being around music and getting lost in the music. I've always kind of felt like George Clinton, who is the great mastermind of Parliament Funkadelic. He has a saying. He says, "Funk not only moves, it can remove." Mm-hmm. And he means like, whatever your troubles are, whatever's on your mind. A lot of times once I get into my DJ set, an hour and a half in, stuff like that, I find that, I'm just in a better state of mind. I'm not thinking about anything, that's negative. I'm just enjoying myself and having a good time and being in the moment. So I really enjoy it. And so that's what's up. And the next show actually will be on Valentine's night. February 14th, I'm do like all lovey-dovey, kind of rolling my eyes, actually as I think about it, but it's appropriate for the theme, right? Sure, I actually used to do an anti-Valentine's Day show where I play all those songs that are about like cheating and somebody done me wrong and all. And so this year I decided I'm going to do an actual lovey-dovey, all the best love songs and stuff like that. So that'll be Valentine's night. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, you mentioned it has like a therapeutic sort of touch to you. I feel like in the, when you get in the swing of it, like of announcing, like you're just like, like having an out of body experience sometimes, and just like, oh my gosh, holy smokes. I'm really doing this. I'm not screwing up so far. So that's good. And then B, it's like, Seems like there was something on my heart or my mind that I was coming into today with, but I don't remember what that was. So, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely, I think, lose yourself in announcing, especially if it's a good race. Sure. I mean, that's one of the things I always say is it's one of the things that's very difficult for me. They would always be telling me, more energy, we need more energy from you. And it's like, give me a better race and I'll have more energy. Sure. I'm just not a faker. It's just not in me to sell you something that I'm not sold on myself. And so that became a challenge. A lot of promoters want announcers. They say no dead time. It's like, no dead time. Nobody wants to hear an announcer just have diarrhea of the mouth all night. If you got something to say it. But if, and it's meaningful and it's worthwhile. But otherwise, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of silence, some music, just a break every once in a while, because it's a social thing for race fans too. They want to come there and socialize with their friends and hang out. Now, I get it in general. You definitely don't want to have a lot of dead air.
Yeah,
but
45 minutes of nothing on a farm session. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's not cool. But for the people who are like never have any dead air, I just think that's actually dead wrong.
Well, because you need a break yourself. You need a chance to like gather yourself, because it's not a sprint. Even though we call sprint car races, like the whole event isn't a sprint. It's pacing. It's you got to have you can't go flying off the handle during qualifying and then, oh my gosh, I'm tired, I overdid it,
Yeah, and they're getting better at, I think, like the Outlaws now, they're staffed well, so Johnny doesn't have to carry all the weight, whether, I guess Hannah's not coming back this year, I guess from what I saw on her Facebook site, but, whether it was throwing it down to her or throwing it to Chase, they've got different people to bounce off of. They've got things they can roll in, to keep it moving and keep there from being some dead air. A lot of times, as the stuff that we're announcing is just us.
Sure.
So, and so definitely nobody wants to hear. And there are announcers that I've heard in the past that that really believed that no dead time, and they would just talk about stuff that, it was like you said before, where's the mute button? Some of them just really would wear me out with
Sure.
the nonstop and then the nonstop cheerleading of trying to make me believe that what I'm watching, like a 6-car, 6-lap heat race, is really going to excite me. It's just not. After 50 years of watching races, that doesn't get me off, man. I'm just, pretty much as a waste of time up until the main event. With almost every racing format that I know of, I'm bored to tears until the main event. It's, and I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but it's just a fact of reality for me at this point in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you were talking about, blending songs and everything. I think I don't know if it was Trophy Cup weekend. It might have been, because I don't think it was at Hanford. I do know that it was at Tulare, but you had Intergalactic by the Beastie Boys paired with something, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
I was
NXS.
I was trying to Shazam it. I'm like, what is this? What is this? And I'm like, wait a minute. Did he do this? This is crazy. This is a good vibe song.
Yeah, Intergalactic with NXS's Need You Tonight. Yeah, they mix well together.
It's a banger. You mentioned Johnny Gibson, and you had a hand in helping him kind of sort of get his World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series announcing career started.
Yeah, Johnny, we met when Johnny was selling programs for the Outlaws, and we just got to talking, and, it pretty much within a couple minutes of talking to Johnny G, you can see that he's a sharp dude. I mean,
sure.
he's really, really, really smart. And, I saw that he was keeping records of everything. He had all these notebooks he just reminded me of, a lot of the people in the media who either write stories or announce. And so, we got to talking about that. And, have you ever announced? Would you consider announcing? Blah, 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 blah. And he said he expressed some interest. So one night at an Outlaw show at Hanford, I invited him up, and he was in the booth, and I gave him the microphone for a heat race, and he called it, did a good job. And Carlton Ramers was there, who is, Ted Johnson, the founder of the World of Outlaws, Ted Johnson's son-in-law. And Carlton, noted that Johnny did a good job, and next thing you know, they hired Johnny, and he gained experience. And, from that point on, just 100% him. He did the work, and has gone on to, have a Hall of Fame announcing career. And you wouldn't think you were out in an outlaw race if Johnny wasn't on the mic giving you you wanted the best, you got him 4 abreast. And, he's a machine.
Sure.
It's really incredible what he's been able to do. And he's a good friend still.
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys, still frequently collaborated when they would go to Tulare or Hanford and even Calistoga, right?
Yeah. Tulare, Calistoga, Hanford. We used to do chili bowls together for Greg Stevens when Greg was doing the videotape of the chili bowl. And so that was always a good time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got another question for you, and that is, sure. Every now and then I'll hear like a crisp crack through the microphone of a cold beverage. What's the story behind that deal?
Okay, so I like Mountain Dew, and I battle with Mountain Dew. I shouldn't drink as many as I should,
sure.
I do, trying to mix it up with water. But anyway, when you used to go to Manzanita Speedway when I was a kid, and the announcer there was Wendy McDonald. Well, Wendy would be known for actually cracking some beers during his announcing night.
Sure.
And if you listen very closely, he wouldn't do it on purpose, but if you listen closely sometimes on an open mic, you'd hear like a can opening.
Yeah.
And so just joking, at some point somewhere around the way, I started doing the Mountain Dew. I'd crack a can of Mountain Dew and just put it right up to the microphone.
Yeah.
Just to get a rise out of people. And I still, when I do it, it's always funny because people always turn and they look up at the announcer's booth like, huh?
Yeah.
And then I show them that it's a Mountain Dew and not a Coors Light or something.
Sure. Well, yeah, I remember the first time I heard it, I think it was 2015 Trophy Cup. And that was, I'm sure you remember this weekend well, like they qualified on Thursday and then just the rains came.
The rain.
And then they're like, well, we're going to start everything over on Friday. And then when Friday's done, we're going to go into the Friday actual prelim. And I think that's one of 5 races I can think of. I got to the hotel room and I didn't even think about changing in my pajamas or anything. I hit my head on the pillow and I was out.
Yeah, that was I remember that race. That was a long one. And I just remember that day, like Troy had a hard day that day. Troy Hennig announcing with me, and it was weird because it got really hot and the fans had heat stroke, and I mean it was was humid and sticky and just one of those long days. And I remember that. Actually, one of those that were not very fond memories of that day. I hate rainouts in general if it means we're going to have to get up early in the morning and try to get everything done and cram 2 shows into one. It kind of takes the fun out of it for me. I'm definitely more of a fair weather guy.
Yeah, I think it started like at 11 or something, and I just remember the sun beating down because it was hot. The sun was hot.
Yeah.
And the sun was beating down on all the aluminum bleachers, and I don't think I brought sunglasses, and I'm like, oh boy. And I think the Thursday program didn't get done until, gosh, I don't know when. I don't know if there was any sort of holdup, but it felt like it took forever. And then it's like, okay, I guess we're gonna do this all over again. So
I think it must have been right before they one of those epic trophy cups before Steve fixed the wall there, because they used to just always have to repair the wall, get the welder out, and do all that kind of stuff. And then Steve, one year he was like, screw that, man. We put some boilerplate up there. Nobody's going through this.
Exactly.
So,
And then last year was my first year back since then. And it was like, oh, wow, this is running smooth. Not to say that it was terrible before.
No, I hear you. It's been a great race. But there were definitely some times where it just got drug out because they had to keep repairing the fence. I mean, it's just, imagine, and now it's hard to imagine Tulare without that big boilerplate because the way the guys run the fence, there's always that threat or the wall, I should say, not the fence, the wall. Brad Doty would be on my case for that. He's always in my ear about little things like that. He's like, "You see chain links there, Bobby?" No, okay, then that's not a fence. That's a wall.
Yeah.
Got you, Brad.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Well, it's been just a thrill and an enjoyment to talk to you and get to know you a lot more. It's been great to get to know you over the last few years, but this conversation is definitely near and dear to my heart, and I hope it's been just as enjoyable for you.
No, it's been a lot of fun, Ben. Anytime, man, and I appreciate you. I see you grinding, man. I see you grinding. And like I said, just keep getting those laps. Yeah. And if you work hard and I know you do, and if you treat people right, and I know you do, good things are going to happen for you, brother.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. And I wish you the best of luck on what's on the horizon for you. And we'll definitely stay in touch.
Absolutely.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to this latest episode of Getting Up to Speed with me, Ben Dethridge. We hope you enjoyed this program. We hope also that you hit the subscribe button and the like button, as that really helps things out, spreads things out. Be sure and share as well on social media so that more people can listen to these great interviews and from these great drivers. Getting Up to Speed is a production of Highside Racing Promotions. For more information, you can check it all out on Facebook at Highside Promotions.